It's my last Talking Pints of the year. And I've got to tell you, I love the optimism of people who set up new political parties. I love it, because there have been scores of them over the course of the last 20, 30 years. And nearly all just disappear without trace. The odd one, of course, does lead to an insurgency and make a bit of a difference. But the optimism, I love it. I admire it. Whether I agree with their politics isn't the point. But Ed Gemmell, who joins me for Talking Pints, and welcome to the programme.
Nice to see you.
You've set up the Climate Party.
Yes.
So I think to myself, whoa, hang on. Oh, by the way, confession from me. Confession to all of you.
Always good to have a confession.
I voted Green in 1989 in the European elections, and I did so because it was run by a fellow called Jonathan Porritt, who I thought was actually a pretty sound, solid, sensible guy. I'd always believed in conservation, and they were Eurosceptic. They were worried about the exploding global population and what the impact of that was going to be on the environment. So, I actually have some sympathies with genuine environmentalism. But given that we have a Green Party, given that the Conservatives are sort of vote blue, go green, the Saudi Arabia of wind, given that the whole of Westminster is signed up to this agenda, why the Climate Party?
Well, obviously we set it up so that you'd have somewhere to vote when you come up to the next election, because I didn't want you to waste your potential greenish vote.
Very good of you.
The particular reason is, from the scientific point of view, we've run out of time. But we don't even have to look at that. This is the biggest business opportunity on the entire planet. I mean, look, we've just had the CEBR talking about Britain being downgraded. So Britain's prospects now downgraded. We're doing the wrong thing. We haven't got the right leadership driving us forward, and we can see this fantastic commercial opportunity coming down the road at the moment.
Right, so the Green Party are pretty anti-business, it's always seemed to me, although they talk about the Green Revolution and green, they all talk about green jobs. Every country that's put into place a big move to renewables has seen, a few jobs on wind farms and things like that, but have seen mass closures of manufacturing and many other parts, many other sectors. Going green has cost jobs, going green has cost a fortune to consumers, to manufacturers. So you're basically saying that you're a sort of right-wing version of the Green Party.
Oh, yeah. We're centre-right, pro-business, pro-climate.
All right, fine. Let's start with business.
OK.
You tell me how a net zero agenda can be good for the economy.
Well, I think the first thing is how could a net zero agenda not be good for the economy? I mean, currently, when we do solar panels, we buy them from China.
Yep.
Why? We should be doing them here. Everything we're doing currently, we've got the target too far out. It's too far away for us to really start working on it. When I do speeches in the city, in Olympia, in Excel, at business events and all that sort of thing, and we talk about Britain leading the decarbonisation revolution, I mean, actually getting in there, getting our hands dirty, innovating and actually leading.
Hang on. Whoa, a second. We have cut CO2 emissions more than any other developed country in the world, 44% down since 1990. Do you know how we've done it? By deindustrialising.
Yeah, but hang on, you're already talking on CO2 emissions. We haven't even got there yet, Nigel. We'll get there in a minute. Let's talk about the business opportunity.
Right, so
Britain should actually be leading
so we can manufacture,
rather than dragging our heels.
Right, so you're saying we can manufacture solar panels?
We can manufacture everything if we need to do it, and if we've got the opportunity to scale it. So if we take a proper scientific target in relation, and we're purists on the science, there is nothing beyond decarbonisation in 2030 that will keep us safe. That's absolutely what comes out of all of the science at the moment. Now, 2050 net zero, before you even remind me of it, is not just greenwash, it's hogwash. We will not be safe if the most sophisticated, commercially able countries go for 2050.
So that is
not the aim.
You think we can play God? You think by reducing CO2 a little bit in the United Kingdom, we can change the weather?
I'm certainly not suggesting we play God, and I wouldn't at all be saying something like that. What I do think we do is we can take matters into our own hands and get on with some work. Now, what's been happening at the moment, and I know you talk about CO2 emissions, so yes, nature pumps a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere.
Far more than we do.
Of course, because of the carbon cycle, Nigel. So it's just like a company that has sales and costs. So the costs are putting the CO2 out into the atmosphere, and the sales are when it's in the carbon cycle and it goes back into the earth and into the plants and everything else, called the carbon cycle. Now, the extra bit is the bit of debt is where we're going out and pumping extra CO2 into the atmosphere.
About 3%.
And that's 3 to 5%. But I mean, that's irrelevant. But in actual fact, do you actually know, Nigel, the increase in CO2 in the atmosphere since the start of the Industrial Revolution? Do you know what the percentage is?
Yeah, I've seen these exponential graphs.
Right.
But I've also seen...
1 second.
But I've also seen...
50%.
I've also seen in previous millennia through rocks, there have been times of massive increases in carbon dioxide as well. All I would say to you is this. Have CO2 emissions gone up, man-made CO2, particles in the air, Is it up? Yes, we can measure that, absolutely. There is some scientific doubt, actually, as to how much of that man has genuinely caused.
No, there isn't. The science is done.
There are plenty of scientists who query this, all right?
There are not plenty. There is a handful of those who make their money by being contrarians who query it. They are not serious scientists. The IPCC, 200 top scientists were the most conservative body in the entire world.
Well, the IPCC was set up to prove a theory. It wasn't set up to have a genuine debate.
Rubbish. It was set up to analyse the science, analyse those scientific papers that came out and reach a conclusion on it. And when they reach a conclusion on it, it's a conservative conclusion, firstly, because it's a compromise, and they always take the less earth-shattering, worrying conclusion. The second bit is before those things even come out, they're modified by governments who comment on them. So you get up to 200 governments commenting, and governments are never commenting saying, let's go harder and faster.
You genuinely think, Ed Gemmell, we're headed for increased temperatures and a real catastrophe?
Well, I don't think I have to actually say very much. We had increased temperatures here in the UK this year, which saw fires.
1976, it was very warm.
We'll always hark back to that, but eight of the hottest years on record are in the last decade, and that's not just happening here, that's happening around the planet. And whatever you say about 76, I mean, when the chief of the fire service in London says that this is the worst day for fires in the UK, in London since World War II, that says something. That's the direction we're in. I mean, when you also look at the figures... Every
weather event is taken to be, it means a disaster. We got a huge 70-odd people dead in America over the course of the last few days with these horrendous blizzards that are going on. We get big weather events. Look, I'll tell you what, for the sake of this debate...
Yes.
I understand your position. You believe in it, right? And I respect that. I've got questions around it, but I respect that. And it's very, very important in politics that we actually come to a position where we do respect the right of other people to have different points of view. I hate this leftist, I disagree with you, therefore I want to silence you. And on this show, we get people on with all shades of opinion. So let's take that as a given. And let's take as a given that you've got an economic agenda to put forward here. How are you going to make it work, Ed? How are you going to make it work? How are you? Because you'll have Greens standing in that constituency as well. Where else have you seen a movement like yours succeed electorally?
Well, the Teals have just done it in Australia. I'm sure you already know about that.
They're sort of like Liberal Democrats.
They took 7 seats in deeply conservative areas from ministers and others in the Conservative parties there. And they did it in the most extraordinary circumstances. Climate was their number one issue. And then integrity in politics. Look, we hope that we're representing integrity in politics as well, which has been seriously lacking in this country for a while now. And then the third part is they took inclusiveness. But they took climate as the number one, integrity as the number 2. And they wiped out a number of the Conservative Party members.
They did. It was very interesting. They did well in the sort of wealthy Sydney suburbs.
That's right.
A sort of upper middle class, sort of Chelsea, Kensington type, sort of London analogy. They were like Liberal Democrats, effectively.
I would say that they're very much more climate-conscious Conservatives. I mean, we're in touch with them, we're talking to them. So, I mean, in terms of strategy, we'll be bringing as much as we can to play here.
How many seats are you going to stand in?
Currently, and I'll be looking forward to your advice on this maybe in the future as you have so much experience in this. But currently we're taking on the Conservatives in 110 seats. So we're aiming at their 100 most marginal seats, and you'll appreciate, because our voting system is very different to the one in Australia, that we have to look at a different strategy. So we're taking on the Conservatives in their 100 most marginal seats. We're also going to take on the climate deniers from the Conservative Party in Parliament, which is about 19. So we'll take them on. That roughly overlaps to about 110. I know that the seats are changing a little bit at the moment with the Electoral Commission, but that's roughly the numbers that we're going to be doing.
And you took on Steve Baker at the last election.
I did, at the point of knowing nothing about politics and nothing about climate. I really just got started.
How many votes?
Do you want me to count them all up on one hand or not? I mean, as a complete noob, the whole point of standing was to get climate onto the agenda.
Yeah. Hey, we did this with UKIP. We were effectively a pressure group that fought elections as a means of getting our message out to a wider public. It's exactly what we did. That changed as the years went on.
Look, there is a label that a member of the media has actually called us UKIP for climate. Now, don't go out saying it myself, but that came out of somebody in the media.
So should Steve Baker be worried?
Well, I think with Steve Baker, he's got a very small margin. Not only that, he's now standing against me, and I'm now a councillor elected in the area. I got elected only on climate in a deeply conservative area. Managed to push 2 Conservatives out, and now I've got 18 months to 24 months. Plus, I'm backed. So I have proper backers to back me to remove Steve Baker in Wickham. And you're going to have one of the arch climate deniers here standing against the leader of the climate party.
Ed Gemmell, you believe in what you're doing. You're playing your part in the democratic process. I have great respect for you for doing so, and thank you for sharing your views.
Nice to be here with you.
Talking Pints. Thank you.